Today's full moon in Scorpio is like a springtime version of Halloween. I'm Jeff Jower.
And I'm Rick Levine for Planet Pulse on this Wednesday, May 14th. It's like a springtime version of Halloween during an ice storm.
During a very scary... Look, we try to be positive here, and there certainly are creative ways to use the energy of today, but it starts off intense. If you've got fears about anything, you're likely to be visited by them today.
Well, look, let's start off with the most obvious, the proverbial elephant in the room, and that is that Saturn, which is in a 2-year stay in Scorpio, today's full moon in Scorpio is just past a conjunction with Saturn, which means that there is a seriousness, there's a reality check to this full moon that just starts the day off.
Right, so the fears are not
They're real.
Imaginary.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're not workable, but still, before we go to the solution side of the equation, Venus, which is Taurus's key ruling planet, the planet of love and pleasure and self-worth, forms a square, a stressful 90-degree angle with Pluto, the dark lord of the underworld, and the key ruling planet of Scorpio, reiterating the theme of not being loved, valued, appreciated, or having the resources that we need.
Yeah, there's a survival mechanism, I think, at play today with Venus squaring Pluto. Venus is also conjuncting Uranus. It's not exact till tomorrow, the next day, but it's all in the energy. There's this buzz. There's this kind of like contractive, I got to do something to survive to make it work, and I'm willing to take a risk. And I think the risk side of this is important because we're pushed to the edge. Mars is also in the equation because Mars is forming a half square to the full moon and a square and a half to the sun. And so there's this element of the tension here. We're getting it from every which way, and the question is, how do we move with it?
Well, I think it's where do we stand with it, because the sun is a creative, life-giving force in the middle of this story. It is the sun that is opposed by the moon, and the moon represents unconscious, instinctive, often remnants of the past, although they're very alive in the present. I think at least one perspective is that sun in Taurus says, please yourself, find value in yourself, have that be the ground of your worth. And with that as a foundation, whatever external storms you can encounter are at least met by a solid sense of who you are.
Yeah, I think that the key to working through that becomes Mercury. Because Mercury forms an exact quincunx today with Pluto. Remember, Pluto's being squared by Venus. Pluto is the modern ruling planet of Scorpio. It's the full moon in Scorpio. And Mercury forming a quincunx with Pluto today and a sextile tomorrow with Uranus. There's that sense of we can work things out through communication, as long as we don't dig too deep, as long as we don't take on too much. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go there, but there's that sense of that Mercury quincunx to Pluto. The danger is trying to solve everything all at once. And yet, if we take the things, remember, the sun is in Taurus. If we take things in usable, workable chunks that we can digest, that we can sense, that we can make sense of, I think then we can find our way through this mess.
And I think the Mercury-Saturn quincunx also reminds us, again, we can't... Mercury-Pluto, we can't communicate everything, and we don't have to communicate everything. It's not about lying, but it is about recognizing that others aren't necessarily going to be the source of satisfaction today, so let's not overwhelm ourselves or them with more than we can handle. I'm Jeff Jower.
And for Planet Pulse, I'm Rick Levine.